For all things outdoors, listen to the father of two, the Jesus-loving TV show hosting hairy, true-blood American redneck, Ben Cole.
And listen to the outdoor filming, chef cooking, chocolate milk drinking, John Weismuller. And we are
Rooted Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Rooted Podcast, where we're going to talk about a new law that could affect game wardens in the state of Tennessee, and that law would be that they would not be allowed on private property without a warrant. And this all stems from a couple of gentlemen passing or basically suing the state for finding cameras from the game wardens on their property without notification or anything like that. Now, John, I've always been under the impression that a game warden pretty much can go and do whatever they want to do. Is that something that you've always thought too?
Yeah, it's kind of, as far as I know, the rule of thumb was wildlife is a public resource, and that's where the water starts to get a little murky. So, it is private land, but the resource is public. So when you start kind of deep diving in that nitty gritty, that's where stuff can get a little confusing, and that's what exactly happened here. So as the folks that are watching the video version of this can see, we have a little document pulled up here, kind of stating what had happened, and so basically what had happened is there was two people that owned a piece of land, and one of them had already been caught over bait. He had been caught hunting over bait, and he had lost his license for 3 years. And he was walking his property and saw a strange camera out there, and come to find out, it's TWRA's camera. And he was basically saying that it went against the state constitution. And for those of you who can't see the little document here, Section 1, Article 7 of the Tennessee State Constitution reads, "People shall be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and possessions from unreasonable searches and seizures." So this gentleman was saying that, I know that I've done some wrong, but this is still private land, and you can't just come on here willy-nilly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, man. So, man, it's a really, like you said, it's really murky. It's really gray area because, I have a personal relationship with the TWRA, and I think they're wonderful dudes. I mean, every one of them that I've met have been just phenomenal to talk to, phenomenal to work with, with the lodge and everything that we're doing. They have been more than accommodating. Before we started hunting and selling hunts, I called them up and said, "Hey, would you mind coming down to the farm and doing a ride through with me to make sure that we're doing everything according to the law?" Because, we want to stay within the law and not do anything illegal. So, this is muddy for me too, because I personally know these guys, and I know that they're really good people. And I know that they're not out there just trying to get you. I've never found a game camera on my property or the ranch or anything else that is from a warden. And even if it was, I don't have anything to hide. We're not out there baiting corn or anything like that during the hunting seasons. We follow the strict regulations of you can plant it and bush hog it, and that is it. And if you have feed out, it has to be completely gone 2 weeks before hunting season. So, man, I mean, it's a tough one, because I also read what the Section 1, Article 7 says, and I'm like, well, that kind of infringes on that too. But at the same time, we're looking at this, and it's still, the wardens have a right because the game is public. Because it could literally walk from private land to public land, just over one fence row, and that's it. So you can't really say that those are your deer because they're not in a high fence. If you paid for those deer and they're in a high fence, okay, sure, those are your deer, right? But any wild animal is technically not yours because it can go on anybody's property, and a buck, as you know and I know, is going to travel a long way during the rut. So it's going to go across several properties and maybe even across a whole bunch of private land and public land and everything in between. So, I can see both sides of this story here. But at the same time, I would strongly say that 99% of all game wardens are great dudes just trying to do their job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a shot at game wardens. It's just a matter of can they or can they not, come on your private land. And because I totally agree. I think the bigger issue with TWRA, and we don't have to dive into this, but the bigger issue is the committee and the people who are appointed who have never really hunted in their life or done anything outdoors, not the officers themselves. That's a whole nother discussion for a different day.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with you. Every officer that I've dealt with, for the most part, has been great. But I will have to say, I'm going to have to go with the judges on this one. And the judges, they took issue with what TWRA was doing and what they wrote. Again, this is straight from the document here, and I'll read it for the people who can't see it. Basically what the judges said. The TWRA asserts that their approach is systematically reasonable because its officers only search if they conclude that they have a reasonable belief that hunting is occurring or has occurred. TWRA searches which its claims are reasonable bear a marked resemblance to arbitrary, discretionary entries of customs officials more than 2 centuries ago in colonial Boston. So basically, all that mumbo jumbo is just saying that TWRA is saying, hey, we can go on your land, and the judges are going, listen, it's private land. You can't just do it just because. There has to be a structure. There has to be chain of command. There has to be things that you go through, right? So I'm kind of with the judges on this one, where it's going, it's private property and you can't just walk on there. But I will say, and I don't know if this is, happening in the court or anything like that, or is in any sort of legal document, but I'm of the opinion that you can't just walk on there. But if, your neighbor sees that you're baiting, or whatever the case may be, sees some sort of illegal activity, baiting or not, or some other act, then they can call the game warden. Just like you call the cops if you see something going on. I see no difference there. And then they can come on and investigate and do what they need to do and confirm or deny the allegations that the neighbor had or whoever called.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying too, man. I don't think that anybody should be able to come on your privately owned property without a warrant or anything of that nature because it's private. You paid a lot of money for that private land.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's where it gets tricky, man. And the point is that this one of the guys in the lawsuit, like you mentioned, has been cited obviously more than once to lose his license for 3 years. So, obviously it's a reoccurring issue, for that particular person. right? So, I mean, that's where I'm kind of like, well, they kind of do have a reason to search you, because you keep getting in trouble for the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I mean, that's pretty probable right there. I mean, I'm not saying people can't change, because they do, but at the same time, I also do not agree with them being able to slip on your property and put up cell cameras to monitor your every movement. Now, I don't agree with that at all. If they physically see you do something, or the neighbor calls in or something like that, sure. But putting game warden or the game cameras on somebody's property, man, I ain't cool with that. Because that's what I mean. What if somebody had to go take a whiz or something, and they whizzed right in front of the camera? I mean, or whatever. It's just in my mind, putting a camera on somebody's private property is invasion of their privacy in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I just don't really get it. Obviously, in this very specific case, this guy has broken the law, but at some point, and I don't know how it happened. How did they catch him the first time? Was it because they just slipped on there unannounced, or was it because someone ratted him out? Either way, the guy was in the wrong.
Yeah, either way.
So to me, I don't think two wrongs make a right. In this very specific case, this dude was wrong. He was hunting over bait. He should be in trouble. Also, TWRA should not be able to just go on there and slip on there without saying anything. Absolutely not. Now, because they caught him, right? Now this is where the murky part comes in, because it's like, okay, listen, I went on this dude's land. Probably shouldn't have done that. Also, though, he was doing something illegal. So who's the bad guy? That's the murky part to me. It's like, well, I personally believe, two things can be correct at the same time. And I think both of the people did something wrong. And we'll see, because none of this is final. That's kind of the other thing. The TWRA can still appeal this in court at the Tennessee Supreme Court. So, nothing's final. I'm sure they will appeal it, and it'll be interesting to see how that kind of irons itself out, because they've got some heavy hitters on their side. They've definitely got some money, so who knows?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing that we don't know, is we don't know how he was caught. We don't know all the backstory to that. So really, we're just going off of what is being reported. We don't know if it was his neighbor that called in, or somebody that was aggravated because he was killing deer or whatever, turkeys, whatever it may be. We don't know if it wasn't the game warden slipping in there. I mean, I just don't know how they would just anonymously be like, oh, yeah, we're going to bust this guy today. There has to be a tip somewhere, that they're like, okay, it's not like they're just drawing a random name out of a hat. And it's like, yeah, let's go check this cat today. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot more in-depth information that we don't even know about this. But what we read is that the judges are not for this. That's what we're reading is, and this is all public information. So we're reading that, the judges are not for it. The wardens are saying, hey, man, we were justified, because the deer or wildlife, whatever, are public, so, man.
Right.
I mean, it's a really touchy subject, man, because, I feel like, too, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't really have anything to worry about anyway. It's like, oh, what's up, Mr. Officer? How are you? Can I check you? Yeah, sure, man, whatever. But at the same time, they could just wait at your gate until you get done instead of ruining the hunt, I mean,
yeah, I was about to say, I've had that happen. Oh, yeah, I've had that happen before on public land, and it's like, dude, you could have at least waited instead of just walking through here. And they don't walk quiet. Not a one of them. I mean, they just don't.
Well, man, I have to say that, you know, when it comes to actually, and I'm no lawyer by any means, so I'm going to preface it with that, you know, and I mean, really, what I'm seeing here is this guy's mad because he found a state trail camera on his private property, so he sued the state. I mean, dude, if I find anybody's trail camera on my property, I'm going to be pretty mad about it, because it is
Yeah.
private property. That's I think that is taking it too far. That is my
Well,
point. Is I think that the
mhm.
the putting the cell cam on there for surveillance of somebody on their private property is way over the line.
Right. Because the wildlife is public, just like we've been saying, but the tree he put the camera on,
Is not
that's
public.
not public at all. That's owned by this
Yep,
gentleman.
and the dirt
And
that was
just
walked
so y'all
on
know, mhm. Yeah. Well, and
was.
his
Yeah,
this this guy's name is public knowledge. I'm not gonna be out here just saying it, but you can look it up with a simple Google search. So,
yeah.
but I tell you, the other crazy thing that's happening with this is, um, he found this camera in 2018. Okay, it's
Dang.
2024, so it's
Yeah.
taken this long to get to this point. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, okay, did they come on there and put the camera up, and that's how they figured it out? And since 2018, he had that 3-year ban. So in 21, it was lifted, or I don't know. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how this happened, but man, it's a crazy ordeal, and it's going to change the landscape a lot. And here's something else to maybe consider is how many people, right, wrong, and different, however you feel about it. I believe this will be true as well. That if people know for a fact that the game warden will not be on their private property, and they know that no neighbor is going to rat on them, especially if they all do it together, how many of them are going to start baiting or doing some illegal activity, knowing
Yeah.
that that game warden is not going to be there because no one's going to rat them out or see
Yeah,
them do it?
that's where it gets really tricky too, because then you're like, okay, are these things going to just start running rampant, and are there going to be just a whole bunch of wildlife crimes and baiting and all that kind of stuff? I mean, it's definitely something to look and watch. I feel like me and you need to sit back and watch this unfold too, and try to unpack it a little bit more as it unfolds and as it progresses, because man, I think that what you said is 100% true. If
Mm-hmm.
they're already doing it anyway, and now they're like, oh well, the warden can't come on here without a warrant. You better believe I'm going to start dumping out corn at every tree stand. Because then they can say,
Yep.
oh well, you got to have a warrant to be on this property, so see you later. And then they can get it out of there before he comes back. And man, I think that gives a little bit of a disadvantage to the law that's trying to do the correct thing. I really do. So I think there's two different sides of this that we have to look at. So let's break it down. Let's break this down piece by piece, section by section. We've already talked about, how all this has transpired, the law and all that stuff. So let's look at this from a game warden's eyes and from just a normal dude's eyes. So,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, from a normal dude's eyes, I'm like, okay, so if somebody calls and says you're baiting, now they have to go get a warrant, before you can even do anything on the property. So it's, it's what you just said. We will, I mean, there's going to be people that abuse that 110%. I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. And, then on the law side of things, it's Well, shoot, now we have to go get a warrant before we can handle a situation that's going down, and we may not even be able to arrest them or do whatever. They may not even be able to punish the folks that are doing wrong because of that time. Because I don't know how long it takes to get a warrant. I mean, it could take a couple days. I don't know. Could take a couple hours. Could take 20 minutes. I have no earthly idea. But what I see is those are the two main issues that are going to arise from this. And if they're already baiting, they're definitely not going to stop. So, what's your opinion on that?
Well, and the other thing to consider is you would like to believe that the people that are already baiting, they're not going to get caught anyway. So it may not even affect anything at all. Maybe the people who don't bait just are going to keep on doing what they do, and now they're at peace of mind because they don't have to worry about someone just randomly coming on their property. So there's that side too. And I don't think whatever decision is made, there's going to be a perfect balance. There's pros and cons to both decisions. And unfortunately, there's going to be people who are affected negatively, whatever the decision that is made. But I personally think that just a game warden doesn't have the authority to just come on private land unless it's warranted, aka get a search warrant. That's my kind of final opinion on that. But again, I see both sides, and at the end of the day, man, I just wish everyone would do the right thing, and then we ain't got to worry about it all to begin with. Just follow the darn rules and hunt and have fun and gosh dang, I mean, why's it got to be this big ordeal where you just have to go against the grain and have to break the law because you think it's unfair? It's like, look, dude, I don't like the baiting law either. I'm the guy who had hundreds of signatures. I'm the guy who's went to TWRA meetings and shoved it in all these committee people's faces and said, look, and shouted from the mountaintops. That's who I am. That's what I've done. Track record, been there. But guess what? I don't bait because it's illegal.
That's right. No, that's 100% it, man. And I agree with you. And like I said previously, is I just don't agree with the whole putting a cell camera on your property for surveillance. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I mean, if you catch somebody in the act red-handed, sure, but dude, when you start throwing cameras quietly on somebody else's property, I mean, man, that's just not good. I mean, I don't believe that, unless you're some kind of hardened felon. I mean, I think everybody's entitled to their privacy unless you're in prison. You know what I mean? To some extent, I mean, I just do not agree with putting a cell camera on somebody's property to watch them secretly. I don't like that. That goes against a lot of things. Our founding fathers didn't even want that, I mean, they would roll over in their graves if they're like, oh man, these guys are putting trail cameras on your property to watch you. I don't think so. That's where I have an issue, is that, because, man, I mean, you're supposed to feel secure and feel safe and all these things on your own property. That's why we buy property, right? So if you can't even walk outside with the fear of somebody putting a camera on your property, well, that's an issue. That's a major issue. Because
it's a problem.
It's a major problem, man. They should have never put cell cameras on somebody's property. I mean, that's, man, I draw the line right there. I mean, if you get caught doing something illegal, fine, you did something illegal. But surveillance and people, that's some next level stuff, man, that I don't really want any part of. I mean, I put cameras on my property because I don't want people to come in there. So that's why we do that. We put cameras to make sure people stay out. We put gates to make sure people stay out. You know, I mean, and I have an open door policy with the wardens. I'm like, yeah, man, come on down. You know, we ain't got nothing to hide. Come on. You know, and I mean, because that's just how we operate. We have an open door policy because we have absolutely nothing to hide, nothing to lose, and you know, I don't see why they would ever have to get a warrant for us because they already know they're welcome. You know, so they don't have to sneak around. But on the flip side of that too, I also see where you know you have somebody that's been doing this repeatedly, and they already kind of know, okay, he's probably going to do this again, and but then at the same time, it's like, well, you know, people do change, you know, so it's really a fuzzy thing,
Mhm.
man. But I don't like the trail camera. I am out on that, 100% out on that.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it is just murky and it's brand new, and we'll see how it all kind of shapes up. But you know, because I'm telling you, if it's taken this long from since the guy saw the camera on his property to now it's getting to the court,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're a long way away from something actually getting put through and a new law created. We are a hot minute away from that. But I wanted to touch on this too, because I read this. Like, as the law currently states, like as of today, and before, it was a case by case basis based on how the warden felt. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I want to break that down a little bit, because I have a personal problem with that, and I'll tell you why. Baiting's the same way in this state. You'll have people that, and I've had wardens tell me this, that if it's 250, 300 yards away, technically at one point in time at least was legal, based on the warden's discretion.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what you're telling me is that if this warden was having a good day or not was whether or not it was going to be legal that day. And I don't really like a case by case based on a warden. Now I get there's variables in life, but it's there need when it comes to law and right and wrong, there needs to be some black and white, some structure, a good foundation. Not just, well, this warden says it's okay, but today warden number 2 comes up and is having a fit about it. Because that creates confusion, which creates a lot of things happening on this land that maybe some dude or lady genuinely thinks that they're in the right, but now according to this other person they're in the wrong because it's a case by case basis based on whatever warden's there. And it's like, well, that just doesn't make anybody feel confident or comfortable. So I definitely think that's one of the things that whatever happens, either way, whether you agree with the judge or the TWRA, whatever, I think that it just needs to be plainly put on paper. Make it black and white.
Yeah, I agree with that 110%, man, because you know, there's a lot of situations where decisions can be made on emotions, and you know, when it comes to the law needs to be the law, and no emotions involved in that. You know, just right or wrong, not
Yeah,
left or
just
right
facts.
or whatever. No gray areas, just facts. You know, it's like if you don't want them to bait, then say no baiting. Period. Simple.
Yeah.
You know, if it's okay if it's 300 yards away, okay. Well, that's the law for everybody. You know, that's
Right.
not. Well, I'm feeling my wife pissed me off this morning, so now I'm gonna take it out on somebody else. You know, that's not okay, man.
Right.
You got to have the law as black and white, not up for interpretation. Because when you allow people to
Correct.
interpret, I don't care how good of a person they are, they're gonna mess up, man. Because we all mess up. That's the thing, is we all mess up, and a law can't be up for interpretation, because that's when emotion can take over and can really make a situation far worse than it absolutely needs to be.
Yep. I totally agree, man. Just make it plain and simple. Pick something and just roll with it. So
roll with it.
Exactly. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out, but I'll tell you this. I know, we've kind of been going back and forth. We've looked at it from different perspectives, and I just think it's important to say this, that regardless if you have private land or if you just hunt on public, if you run into a warden, whatever, I think the biggest takeaway from this conversation is just do the right thing and go have fun in the great outdoors.
Yeah, because if you're doing the right thing, you have absolutely nothing to worry about.
Yep, and you're good.
So, yeah, you're good, man. And you know what I'll even encourage is that you go out and you talk to these game wardens. You make friends with them, because they're good people. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
A lot of these guys are great dudes to be around. So, it's hard to really put blame on anybody. Yeah, we've got things that we don't like and, whatever. But, I mean, they're at the end of the day, they're great dudes just trying to do their job and go home to their families. So, they've always been really good to me. And I have no problems with any of the wardens around me. I mean, they've all been great. So, they're always welcome on my property too.
Yeah. No, I've never really had an issue, man. It's just as long as you're nice to them and you're just cordial, they'll be nice to you. And it really does make a big difference if you make the initiative to go talk to them, especially, if you're kind of a new landowner or you're new to the area or whatever, and you just say, hey, officer, whatever. Yeah. I'm so and so. Just let you know I bought this land, or I got permission to hunt this land, or hey, I'm brand new to this WMA, and I'm just, what do I need to do to not make this illegal? Because I'll be honest, it can get confusing sometimes, depending on what WMA. Because some are just like normal state laws, and then like others, like the one that I'm near, it's way different, man. It's got its own set of rules. So it once you start getting in the book and reading, like, yes, you can read it, but sometimes it can be a little wishy-washy, just like we were saying, because the laws like kind of can go either way. So it's always good to talk to the warden, man, and then you're in good standing, and they remember that kind of stuff. So I think that's a great idea. Go talk to your local warden.
And it never hurts to ask a question. If you don't know, ask. Because that's going to save you a lot of headache down the road. If you just simply just say, hey, man, look, I don't know, just looking for help here because I'm trying to do the right thing. They're going to respect you more for that than you just not even asking and getting in trouble because you just didn't know. Because all the resources are there. So you can't claim ignorance when all the resources are there. You can literally call a phone number and say, hey, do you mind if I talk to a warden over such and such county so that I can figure out if this is legal or not? I mean, it's pretty easy to do. So like we've said, I would suggest going out, meeting your local warden. If you have questions, just ask them. I mean, just be real with them and just treat them like normal dudes, because that's what they are. I mean, it's like, dude, I've got a ton of friends that are police officers, and they're great people. I mean, that's the thing is, if you go into it thinking, oh man, the game wardens are awful. Well, you know what? You're missing out on a great opportunity to maybe make a new friend that could really help you in a lot of ways, especially understanding the wild game laws. And dude, you never know. They may just be a real good Christian brother, that you can hang out with, whatever, I mean, you just never know. You never know. So it's always better to be nice, kind, and considerate, and just ask a question to make sure. Just go out and ask. It's pretty simple.
Yep, it really is not that complicated. Just do the right thing, and you really ain't got nothing to be worried about.
Nothing at all, my guy. Well, John, you got anything else you want to add to it?
No, man. I would just tell the people to kind of keep up on this, and even if you don't live in Tennessee, maybe check check your laws, and I kind of be interested to see what different states do. Maybe some of them do this already, and we just don't know it. So I'd be interested to hear from y'all. Please leave a review, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon, wherever it is that you're listening. And please check out all of our socials. We're everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that fun stuff. And we have a great website with some awesome merch, and you can check out all of our episodes and the Rooted Television episodes as well. And Ben, I think that's about all I've got. So,
well, hey, with that, the redneck is out.
See y'all.
For all things Rooted Podcast and Rooted Television, and I mean hats, shirts, hoodies, and other merch, check out our friends at CH Lone Star Pro and the link that is in our description.